Hey everyone, this is Chris from Noisewire. I'm here today with Matt Fanale from the band Caustic. How you doing today, Matt?
Wonderful, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. You celebrated a birthday yesterday, didn't you?
I did, yes.
How'd you spend your birthday, if you don't mind me asking?
I went and saw the new Predator movie by myself. My favorite way to see movies sometimes, because it's I'd have nobody to impress but myself. And then the family and we all went out to dinner and stuff and hung out, and so I got the best of both worlds.
Fantastic.
So I had a little downtime, and I got to hang with my kids and my wife. So
nice.
It was
That's always good.
It was nice.
All right, so let's get started. I want to talk about Fiend 1 and 2. You released Fiend 1 and 2 this year. Now I'm a creature of habit. Get out of this world, this savage, slow down. Give me damage if I don't get something. I'm gonna take something back. Now like an animal in pain. Drenched down to the honest brain. Knocked out, I feel no shame. If I don't get something, I'm gonna break something. Yep. 2 albums. I've read that they're connected, but they're meant to be standalone albums. Can you talk a little bit just about how the albums came about, like the writing and the creation?
I'll be happy to. So I had the title. I've had the title for years. I knew what I wanted to call it, which is pretty rare because sometimes I just I've just written songs and come up with a dumb title, and that's that. But I had the title and the idea during the pandemic. I might have the title before, but the pandemic, for everybody was kind of, darker times. And I had, just like everybody, gone through a lot of stuff. And so I was writing a lot of more slower tempo, darker music that, can you hear my dogs?
No, you're fine.
Oh, good. Okay. I apologize because I have kids and dogs at home, and
I have both as well.
It's inevitable. But I had the idea for. I just didn't know if I had anything left to say, to be honest. And so I was like, what would be a good challenge for me? And American Carrion, my last album, which came out in a stroke of midnight, New Year's Eve, 2018. I won't compromise. No negotiations. I won't waste my time on all this stupid shit. And if you read my mind. So, first album out of the year, and but I was it was a very political album, which I kind of wanted to never have to think about again. But boy, it's back.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't want to. I kind of just real tired of hearing lots of, for lack of a better term, white dudes yelling about stuff, because it's not that interesting anymore to me. And so I was kind of like, maybe I just stop, But then I said, a real challenge to me would be to focus on myself and internally and what I'm going through and what I have gone through since I basically put out an album called And You'll Know Me by the Trail of Vomit.
I think it's time to discuss philosophy, drugs, and
I can't stop it! Which was basically me hitting rock bottom. I literally sent it off to mastering, and a couple days later got sober. Because I had to. And so it was kind of like, what has happened then? And what is it like now for me? So the first album is very much of the chaos that I had always brought to everything with the drinking and everything else. And Fiend 2 is kind of where I'm at now and how I've dealt with things I did, how I feel about myself, having gotten diagnosed in that time. Hold on one quick second, please. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. The dogs are all barking, and of course my kids like ignoring it and playing video games. And
yeah,
I'm
that's what they do.
Anyway, but I kind of made a promise to myself that I would write. I would be very honest with everything, and I wouldn't just write something to make it a cool, have a cool title and a cool song. It would have to have meaning behind it, everything. And so some of the songs took forever for me to write. because the lyrics just took forever. And some I was writing. I mean, I was writing some lyrics up until just about when I had to take it to go get printed, and all that. So it was, I made it a huge challenge to myself to be very honest and open and to be scared about what I'm saying, to things that I don't like to admit, things that I don't want certain people to hear. And that was the impetus for it. And I wasn't planning on doing 2 albums, but then I realized that it kind of broke up that way. And it was, then I had to only had to do a little bit of like adjusting to make some songs work for what I needed to. And it was kind of hard. Some songs could have worked on either album, but the first album is a little more clubby, and for lack of a better term, I really didn't even try to make club songs. This is not me trying for the dance floor, although some of this stuff is very obviously so, but, yeah, so it was a big just challenge to myself, and for a very long time, I didn't think I was going to get it done. So I'm very happy that it's out. Yes. I pushed it kind of hard, but not as hard as I normally would, because normally there's a lot of sense of humor behind it and all this stuff, but that really didn't fit the themes of the album well. So I've been kind of doing a slow burn and just talking to people when they want to talk, and putting new things out. I've got remixes I'll be kind of slowly letting out into the world, and I'm very protective of it. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where it came from, and Fiend had to do with addiction and being not a great person sometimes. And a friend of acquaintance, I wouldn't say a friend, acquaintance of mine, his name was Fiend. Everybody nicknamed him Fiend, and he had passed away from a drug overdose a very long time ago. So I was thinking of him and another guy I knew that OD'd when we were all in our 20s, and how weird it was, and how how I really didn't deal with it well at all. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, doop-a-doop, let's go back to the club. And it's like, that doesn't seem like it. I've had a lot of growing up to do over the last 20 plus years. So anyway, yeah. So that's the very long-winded with a pause. And again, I apologize.
That's all good. So would you say this is like, because you mentioned the humor, and humor has been a big part of the music you've been making for a long time. Mm-hmm. Would you say this is more challenging because you were trying to be less humorous? Like, do you feel like you had leaned on humor previously as sort of like a way to talk about things without having to really open up about them, and this is more you opening up?
Early Caustic was basically not great, so I had to lean on funny to make it more palatable. Because I was learning, and I mean I'm still learning, but now I can put together a decent song. I am, hopefully. But it wasn't really that hard, because I was honestly in a real dark place for a lot of this. And so humor wasn't like my first thing, but I mean, there are funny lyrics in some of the songs, and Rhythm is a Cancer. It's very much like it was a very much the kickoff track for a reason. Kind of a manifesto of sorts, as is, and kind of sets the tone for that album, for Fiend 1, and then Inconsistence of Time, which is one of my several weird plays on Anthrax titles, and which that really has no figuring into the album. It just happened to be that way, and I thought it was very fun. Yeah. I'm not even a massive Anthrax fan. Yeah, it's not without humor in parts, but at the same time, it is serious. So, I've worn a serious hat before. I just, I just turned it off for a lot of this. Although I think there's some very funny parts in it, but because I can't avoid that. Plus, you can't make something just so churning for you without having moments of lightness to at least have something to work against.
Yeah, for sure. There was a Kickstarter for this as well. Would you mind talking about that a little bit? Like, how did that end up going out?
Oh well, I started Kickstarter. I mean, when Kickstarter started, I was one of the I don't know if I was one of the first bands to do it in our scene, but I had done that for the Golden Vagina, Fame and Profit. I've done it for every album since then. So, including a couple EPs, a couple of other like side project albums.
Oh.
And are you there?
Yeah, the cat jumped on the desk and
Okay. Oh, hey, kitty. And so I actually wasn't sure if it was even. I mean, I've been gone a long time. Not just with Caustic. I mean, we're not just with Caustic. Rather, I mean, I've been doing Klack. I've been doing Daddybear. Plenty of other things going on, but I hadn't done a Caustic album in so long. I wasn't even sure. Honestly, part of the whole thing was also like, am I even relevant anymore? Am I just like some nostalgia act now? And I don't want to be that, because I think that's stupid.
Yeah.
And it's, for somebody else that's great, but I haven't made a big enough imprint or footprint on anything to be nostalgia yet.
Right.
So I did it, but I did it the way I always did, where I kept the main goal really low so we could hit it quickly. And then the way I do it is, if I start doing well, everybody's going to do well, which ends up costing me more money in the end. But it's very weird to ask for money from people, and it's really fun to send them a ton of stuff as a thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm still packaging this, which makes my job a lot harder all around. But I've got, T-shirts and USBs and coasters and lanyards and shot glasses and all kinds of stuff I'm sending to people rather, as a part of it. But it did really well. And of course, the postage is consistently screwing me here because everything has gone up thanks to our government. But I'm making it work, and it's great. And I got to put out exactly what I wanted, exactly how I wanted, and that means the absolute world to me.
So that makes me think of something. I don't hear you talk about this a lot, but you've been on labels before in the past. Like back in your first releases, you were on labels, you released stuff. Has the Kickstarter sort of given you the ability to circumvent that and release things on your own terms now?
I mean, I was on Metropolis for 2 of the albums. So it just basically means I don't owe anybody money.
Yeah.
Which is the nice part. Because, I mean, getting advances in our scene, I forgot, I got an advance for my first album from the label I was on at the time, and I bought monitors with it. And but ever since then, I've never asked for a dime. I just want somebody to help me put it out.
Right.
And I like not having to owe people stuff, and I like not being in debt more than I'm already in debt in real life.
Right.
So if I can work in the black doing an album, it makes me a lot less stressed out, and it allows me to not have to cater to anybody. And I was on something, a label called Static Sky, which went under. Then I was bought out or whatever. I don't even know what exactly happened by Crunchpod for that. And then I moved to Metropolis for a couple albums, and we parted ways amicably. It was a very nice experience, and rest in peace, Dave Heckman. And then I went over to Negative Gain because I have my friends over there, and I left Negative Gain, but it wasn't out of any ill will or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to do this one on my own, and I just felt it was time just to move on. So I've nothing but love for those guys, and they were always very good to me. So I just like kind of being independent and doing everything myself. I say that with having to still package a ton of albums for people and hating every second of it, and kind of wishing I could have had a label do that for me. But yeah. So I've been on labels. I've been off labels. I'm very independent, and fortunately, no labels ever asked me not to do anything. Your cat loves that keyboard.
This has never happened. She's being. Come on, Sam, man.
It's okay. It's no big deal. So now I'm fully independent again. Who knows what the future will bring? I don't hate labels. I've had nothing but good experiences on them for the most part, and so yeah, it's just I just went back to my full on DIY to not be a burden on anybody. They have to deal with my weirdness. So, but everybody's always been awesome.
Sorry. So
it's okay.
I'm curious about this though. Do you with any of the music you're releasing now, do you see a need to go back to a label at some point, or do you think with kind of the fan base you've built up that you can kind of fund these things on your own and you don't really need a label?
Oh
anymore?
yeah. I mean, for Caustic, I can do it very cheaply. I mean, I for the albums, like I've released a whole bunch of EPs and things like that, and I get Eric Ayler of Klack, Null Device, Edge Case Development Corporation, all the bands that he does. I get him just to master it, so it's not terribly expensive. But on these albums, I really wanted to bring in some other folks to help with the mixing and the mastering and doing the art and stuff, because I just had a very specific vision for it, and I really wanted to make sure that I was going to do my best work, but work with people I know could bring it to another level. So I had Eric work on a bunch of my stuff, Brant Showers of Damon and Solve, who's also a local. He's closer to me than Eric is, driving wise, so he's about 15-20 minutes away from me. And then I had a couple other folks, Doug from Nevada Hardware, did a little Pharma. Just sometimes I just kind of get hey, it would be kind of cool if this person helped out on this, and what could they do? So I really go with my instincts on that, and was not disappointed by anybody. So, and Joseph Ferraro of Control Shift and Dagger Eyes Studios did a couple tracks, 1 or 2 tracks, maybe just one. But he did all of industrial music. So I kind of have a small circle of people I work with, and I also pay them because it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious because I saw Aesthetic Perfection talking about how they've recently gone back to a label.
Yeah.
Because they're just they think they're at a level where, so I'm always curious, like, because I'm of the camp that if you don't need a massive production, then you should probably just do it on your own, because you get to control more of it and you don't owe anybody money. But I like to hear other people who are actually working and their perspective on it.
I was a little surprised to see Daniel do that, and that's in no way a criticism, but at the same time, it is very much the situation where if he is playing these bigger venues and he's able to start bringing in newer fans, and it's a lot to do on your own. So it's good to have a team behind you. Hopefully he got the deal he wanted from whoever he's with. Out of Line, is it?
Yeah.
And I wish him all the best, as I always have. We're not super close, but I have very deep respect for how he's been able to build things up and how he's changed ways he's done things to benefit himself and to just, keep the nose to the grindstone. And I've never technically needed a label. I've liked what labels can do in terms of promotion. The optics of being on a label still to people means something, but it's like Boy Harsher has their own label. Boy Harsher, probably has a lot more people working for them than I do, because I have nobody working for me. But it's not needed these days technically, but it is nice to have someone who's got your back, who can be emailing DJs when you're not, who have other resources that they can tap. So it depends on the label. It depends on how much they want to, work with you and how much time they have and all that. But I just figured I'd do it on my own, and I kind of slow burned this one. I didn't send it out to like 1 billion reviewers, and I didn't, I got it to people, and slowly but surely things like, like this are just kind of trickling out. But I like that because it keeps me having something to promote. It keeps get some new ears on the albums, and it's been doing pretty well. So yeah, it's been going well. Again, I'm just really happy I got it out. It was years of just going, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this for these albums? You got other stuff to worry about, Matt. But it worked out very well. And I can't complain at all, because it would be ridiculous to do so. Very grateful.
I wanted to ask, I've read in other articles about the album that you said this might be the last Caustic album. You're not sure if you want to continue to use the name Caustic as you produce stuff. But now the albums are out, has that viewpoint changed at all? Is it solidified? Is there any more thought about that?
It's been kind of focused on the relevance and all that kind of stuff. It's been a very everything's been positive. That's the nice thing. I mean, I went from when I started releasing the singles for the album, my Spotify for me, and and Apple Music. The couple places I could actually check my numbers, like, just blew up for me, and almost doubled for everything. So it was like, that was cool, you know. It's I just need to figure out where I'm going to go with it, and I still might just be, this just might be it. Because I don't know what kind of other challenges I can do to myself. I mean, I could also just make an album, just an album. But to me, these days, albums get such short shrift and just get dismissed because it's such a singles culture. But I kind of like making albums, you know. But I want to make it worth it. I don't want it to be like, I have 10 songs. And that's what I did on my old stuff, which is fine. But then it was a very different system, and it was still, you know, streaming wasn't even a thing then, because it was like 20 plus years ago. Your cat's just like, you are not paying enough attention to me.
She's the star of the show right now.
It's my bulldog does the same thing, which is why the door is closed. So she'll start barking at me until I give her some scritches. But I really wanted, it was very important to me to make 2 albums, not 2 collections of songs.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it to be worth people's time to listen to it. And that's kind of, I have the tailored versions up, which of course is a little joke on the Taylor's version of Taylor Swift's new albums that she re-recorded, but I have them all, the songs ending into the next track, to hopefully have people keep listening, but also to get another stream on my side, because it only takes, I think it's like 30 seconds. They'll count it as a stream if you don't even listen to the whole song. So I was being kind of a jerk, but I actually didn't get many complaints about it. And I'm going to switch them out, so it's just the regular versions with the regular end times. But I wanted to try that out of, I don't know, respecting that this is an album, and I really want people to listen to it that way. And I know people aren't going to if they don't want to, but I really wanted to encourage that, so I designed it that way. I designed it with very little space between tracks, which I'd gotten from an interview with Chuck D when he was talking about It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, and they didn't leave any real space on the tapes for people to stop it.
Yeah,
they always wanted to keep you interested in doing something else. Or just, you know, some whatever interstitial things, and so I took a lot out of that, and I said, oh, okay, well, you know, let's not give people time to go, this song is now over, let's have another song. So I really went out of my way, and it ended up both albums being 42 minutes and 42 seconds exactly.
Oh wow.
With a little, I had to finesse a little bit in there for a couple seconds here and there, but it was very cool how it turned out that way. And there's a lot of little secret meanings and silly things in there. There's a lot of actual humor in the album if you look into the weirdness of it. So, and one of the big things which I find very funny is that I have every year for March 11th, it's 3/11 Day. And I started doing this joke for a cousin of mine who loves 3/11, and I started really celebrating it ridiculously hard. And I mean, I like 3/11, but I'm not like that much of a fan, but it's become a thing every year. So I just quote Come Original. I misquote the lyrics to Come Original like a billion times in a row. But I have Come Original as a acrostic in one song. If you find the lyric sheet,
oh, nice.
you can see where it says Come Original down the side. So I had my fun in there. I can't help but have some humorous parts. But there's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of stuff. If you read the album, read the lyrics, look back and forth on the two, there's lots of parts that come together and diverge, or mirror, or kind of, you know, what's the world in Stranger Things, the upside down, kind of like the opposite of it. And I did a lot of that with Man Who Couldn't Stop, because it was all based on Ulysses by James Joyce. I could just make dumb songs, but no, I have to challenge myself to the most ridiculous things I can.
I just love you, begging for mercy. I just love you, begging for mercy. Take me.
But yeah. So there's a lot of deeper stuff in there if people want to bother. It'd be neat if they did. I used to always love doing that kind of thing, but on the surface level, I just wanted to make a bunch of songs worth listening to. Not everyone has to be a banger. Some of them are just meaningful to me. So yeah, again, I got to do what I wanted. And that was the big thing I really cared about.
So, hold on. I want to ask about your actual like technical setup for this album. And kind of in comparison to Caustic over the years, I'm curious like what's in your studio right now, like what you're working with, and if there's anything interesting that you brought on this record that you think really gave it some like something new.
I mean, my studio is, I'm sitting in it. It's just tiny. It's a converted closet that's like 400 degrees most of the time. I also work here remotely for my day job. And did I bring new stuff in? Yeah, I mean, I used. Well, actually, what I did use, I had a ton of. There were a ton of open sourced old sample CDs, like the ones from the 90s and stuff that you could like, Cold Cut had one, and like all these different just sound CDs, and people would rip the whole CD and put it up, and a lot of them were available here and there for short times if you could just get there and grab it off of some archive, .org thing. So I was using a lot of old sample CDs and ripping things apart and just tweaking them so to the point where you don't even know what it is, and that was something that I was bringing in a lot more. I made a rule to myself that I was going to do whatever I wanted. Instead of just having my like, I'm not going to sample this movie because everybody sampled it kind of thing, which, I still don't want to.
Yeah.
But I said, I had a list right on my wall here, which it's somewhere, that was all just the rules. And it was like, you can go back and sample your own music, which I did. My own music's in there. I sampled other artists in there, some. As quietly as possible. I don't typically do that. But there was a specific sound on the album that you'll hear a bunch of times filtered and done different ways, but that's from a very important song to me that I wanted to pay a weird homage to. And some, it just means a lot to me. So yeah, I was trying to be more open-minded and really push what I do. And the song, oh gosh, what's the name of that song? I should grab a copy of my CD that's right here. What is it called? Oh my crap. It's on Fiend 2. And it's me just talking. And that's the whole thing. And it just blanked on me. That was the hardest song for me to write lyrics to, because I wanted it to be like a kind of a spoken word, which I've never really done before, but I wanted to do it in a way that didn't feel rehearsed and survive myself despite myself. Jesus, I wrote the song, for Christ's sake.
I mean, we all believe what we want to believe, right? We all want to be the hero of our own story. It's easier to blame than to change. It's easier to have people that agree with you than challenge your beliefs.
But it's all about my addiction, and it's all about how easily I can screw it all up again, and how much I still kind of miss that world, and how easy it is to blow it. And I had something I had written for that, and it just didn't sound right. I kept reading it, and I'm like, I can't just make this sound like how I'm talking to you right now. So I literally stopped. I hit the end of the speech, and I just made myself keep talking. And that's actually what's on the track, because it wasn't planned. It was me just speaking contemporaneously, and it was a lot more meaningful. It held so much more meaning in that moment than me trying to, fake some emotion from something I'd written previously.
Right.
So I tried a lot of things which might not be necessarily obvious to folks, but I have this habit of trying to speak in different voices, like vocally, like, there'll be, you don't hear a Slayer album and go, oh, what's that R&B song they did? It's always a Slayer album. It's always a Ministry album, depending on which ministry you want to look at. So it's my Mike Patton fetishization, where he does so many things in so many different voices, and it just blows me away. So I do something similar, So it was just trying to find voices I hadn't spoken in yet, and ways of presenting my material that was different. So, yeah, I mean, I know I'm just, you don't ever have to worry about me talking too much because I will. So,
Well, I want to ask about actual songwriting, like how, and this is I'm kind of thinking about this from a studio setup sort of perspective, like
Sure.
early Caustic, and arguably like that genre of like industrial, quote unquote, do you think there's like, is there something to like having it be very stripped down and very like basic in terms of how you produce it, or how has that gone for you over the years? Like, have you found that like
too much to work with
yeah,
in terms of like VSTs? I have like a zillion soft synths. I have thousands of drums to work with, but I do tend to focus on certain ones that are like my favorites at the time. I forever will believe that limitations inspire you a lot more than having everything at your fingertips. That it just inspires you to do something you can't normally do in a way that just to achieve the same end. So I mean, my computer is a pile of garbage. I have a computer. I had gotten a new computer a decade now, more than that now, 13 years ago. It was like the first new computer I ever worked on. The first Caustic albums were made on my wife's like graduation gift computer. So I've always had like hand-me-downs or bought ones refurbished, and this is the refurbished one that I bought, but it's still like 5 years behind everybody else who might have it. So I don't work with a lot of gear, but I do know how to maximize what I do. But I think it's also a big part of my sound.
yeah,
Like if you put a band like, let's say Babyland, who has a very specific, junk punk sound, and you put them in with give them $1 billion budget. Well, it's not the best example because I think they still sound the same, but to have that much at your fingertips is, I think, detrimental to a process. And I do add things all the time. I mean, fortunately, I do make a little bit here and there. Because I'm not that person who's like, oh, I just got bored and spent $2,000 on a synth. It's like, no, I have to make sure I can afford stuff. I have kids. I got bills to pay. But I'll get something and I'll play with it and I'll go, oh, okay, this will be part of my palette for a while. And sometimes I go back to those, but mostly I just have my favorites that I'm working with now, and that becomes part of the arsenal for the new project. But again, with this, the sounds were so different. If you play, just two songs that link vocally, lyrically, Little Pharma and Fiend they sound incredibly different, but they are again linked. So there are two songs, like if you go song for song on the albums, a lot of times there's a lineup between what those two songs are. But again, that's only if you're going to look for it. So yeah, I don't think if I had the money to have this massive setup that I'd have it, because I don't care that much. Yeah. I can do what I need to do with what I have. I can hire people. I had friends. I had friends of mine since I was a kid on this album in parts. And again, it's about my evolution as a human being. So these albums are about my life. So it's very cool to bring in certain people.
Yeah.
For that kind of thing. Yeah. So I really answered your question and probably 4 of your other ones. So you're welcome.
So when you do write a song, and this could be for Klack or Daddybear or any of the projects you're involved in, do you just play with sounds until something makes sense and you kind of build off it? Or even with Fiend 1 and 2, you had like kind of a concept for it. So were you writing with ideas in mind, or were you still just kind of experimenting and then it became what it became?
I had ideas for songs. I had titles for songs. Sometimes I had lyrics for songs, but I have to find the song because I'm not one of those folks that's conventionally trained, classically trained really at all. I played cello a little bit in like 4th grade and did drum pads in 5th grade. So, I'm not a great musician, but I mean, I've learned and taught myself over the years. And I have people with really good ears. I mean, Eric is incredibly gifted as a songwriter, but also as a trained musician. He can play like 10 different instruments. So I can always bounce it off him, and he'll always be honest with me if something is just like, yeah, it sounds a little bit like that or whatever. And yeah, is that what you're going for? And I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. And I go back to the drawing board, but it's generally the music comes through that. Yes. If I find a good drum beat and then I can find a decent bass line, I'm pretty much 75% there, because I'm very groove based. With what I try to do, whether you find what I do groovy or not, that's up to you. But I need to have a groove that can be tracked through the track, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm such a big Underworld fan and things like that. Because I go that's for the way how my brain works. I like the hypnotic state of repetition like that, but then also knowing how to change things structurally here and there to make it still be interesting, because that does get, of course, incredibly boring after a while, unless you know how to tweak it and still keep ears at attention.
Are you doing any live shows in support of this album? And if even if not, can you kind of talk about how you curate your live setup based on?
Oh yeah,
what's been
sure.
recorded?
I did. It wasn't for this album, but I did do I played with Hallows. About a month ago, probably about a month ago. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was right after. Yeah. About a month ago. They came through Madison, and very super nice people, a great band. But I did a techno set of tracks of mine that were on albums, but were never ones I would perform live, even though I love the music, because it would just be me not doing much live unless I was behind a desk. But usually I'm just there on the mic, and Eric Gottesman and Katya are my usual crew. Scott from my Varden Sphere, if he's around. So I haven't played many one-offs in the last couple of years. I've opened for Stabbing Westward because they were in town, and I got to open for Stabbing Westward. That was neat. And a couple other things, but for the most part, I have been keeping real low with Caustic. Honestly, Klack gets more interest with that kind of stuff. So, and Eric has more to do in Klack, and it's more of we get to travel and just be doofuses and have a good time. And so that's, yeah, I haven't had that many requests for Caustic, but I'm kind of like not as hungry like when I was like doing this 20 years ago, where I was just begging to get on a lineup. I'm kind of like, if there's a thing that seems cool, I would love to do that. If it is not cool, I do not want to do that. And it kind of matters what the fest is to me. Yeah. Because I have so many, I've been doing this so long. I know everybody at all the fests. Yeah, and if I don't, that's new friends. But at the same time, I'm not as into like a lot of the music, and I'm not trying to cut on anybody. It's just not my thing anymore. So there's certain festivals that I'm definitely more drawn to that, have more diverse lineups. It's like Terminus, big one. Cold Waves is great. Absolution, which I haven't played, but I would still love to. Mark Paradise. Yeah, it's but in terms of my setup live, it is. I do all things Caustic, so I'm the person who creates all of Caustic stuff, unless I bring in somebody to play like bass or guitar or something. But live, Eric is playing and manipulating backing tracks. I'm doing vocals and just being a general dummy on stage. Katya is chucking atmospheres over things usually with like a Chaosilator. And then if I have someone for drums, which is usually Scott from my Varden Sphere, Scott Fox, he'll be playing pads or Dumbeck or some other thing. And so we're just adding lots as much as we can over things, and I just jump around like a moron. So it's a lot of fun.
Nice. So can we talk about Klack for a second? I know
I'd love to talk about Klack for any second. Sure.
You guys have a new single, The Wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald.
Legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchigumi. A lake
read that it was a cover of a folk song, and Eric just really wanted to try to cover a folk song, or?
Yeah, you nailed it. He, like, on Saturday we were talking, and he starts just writing, and we're texting each other rather, because that's what we do. And he started texting me the lyrics to it, and I recognized the lyrics, but I'll be in all truth and honesty, didn't know where to place them because I just know the Kichigumi, because that's a great term. And he's like, "Oh, it's a record of Edmund Fitzgerald." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Wait a second, I wonder if this would work." And I'm like, "Okay." And then like an hour goes by, and he sends me a video of like what he put together already. So he's like, I think this will work. Like it's just, it was just a fun challenge for him. And so on this one, it is all credit goes to him. It was just funny because I took off from work on a Monday, and he's like, "Oh God, today's the 50th anniversary." I'm like, "Do you want me to come over and do my vocals real quick?" Because he did like a test version, and he does a version of my vocals, which I think are hysterical because it to me sounds like me. So I was just like, "You sound better than me doing myself." But I ran over his lunch, and we recorded the vocals, and then we had it out that night, and we're just like, I don't know what anybody's going to say, but it's the 50th anniversary. It's kind of cool that we did this. And he did a remix, of course, too, because Eric's just insane, and it's the funniest. But then the whole world kind of blew up about it for a couple days, and for about a week and a half. And I mean, we knew it was a song that meant a lot to folks in Canada because Gordon Lightfoot was Canadian, and it was they teach it. A Canadian pal of mine said they teach this to us in like elementary school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's a very cool song. I mean, I just am oblivious to pretty much everything in the world all the time. So it was a very cool response. And then somebody I know in Canada sent it to a DJ, a friend of his who they DJ together, and she said, "You know that I'm one of his relatives, right?" So some of Gordon, it was a more distant, it was a couple generations away, but she really loved it, and she's like, "Oh, I sent it to somebody, my dad and a couple other folks." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, the Lightfoot family knows about this."
I know, right? It gets back to Gordon.
And it's weird. I mean, it's weird to translate a song like that into like an EBM new beat track, but Eric again just is good, and I got to sound kind of like I was in an Irish punk band, so it was fun. It was really fun, and yeah, we got a really good response. And if we play Terminus, I think we are bound by Canadian law to cover it there, which means I have to remember a lot of words. So,
have you been surprised by the relative success of Klack?
Oh, 100%. Every second. We started it in 2017. Just because Eric's like, "Hey, you want to just do a new beat song?" And I'm like, "That sounds fun." And I said, "Okay, what are we going to call it?" We started dinking around, and he said, "Okay, we'll call it synthesizer." And I'm like, I'm off to do my sample work. So I'm out there sampling people saying synthesizer from old, like really old, like documentaries and stuff, and old educational films. And Eric found some too, and we just talked through it and put it out on a lark. And we said, "Hey, what should we call it?" And my wife said, "Go down to IKEA," because we go down to IKEA a lot. Not as much as we used to. The relationship is dying. We went to IKEA, and I saw this thing that said Klack across the way, and I'm like, "Klack." And Eric's like, "What?" I'm like, "That's the name of the band, Klack." And he's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Dude, Klack." So we put it out, and people were real excited, and we're like, "Oh, we just literally did it as like a one track." I'm in like at least half a dozen one-track bands,
Yeah.
And then but everybody was like, "You got to do more of this." We literally thought like our pals, our new beat nerd pals, and our music nerd pals would be the only ones who cared about this. But a lot of people really liked it. It was a good track, but we put out a lot of good tracks. And so we did the EP, and then the EP got big, and then the second EP, Lacar, was massive, like twice as many downloads as anything, almost twice as many than anything else we have on our band. And it got a lot of downloads for our little world.
The country that just built the world's fastest train also builds the world's best-selling front-wheel drive car. The car.
So yeah, and then we started doing it live, and it's a thing. It's a full-fledged thing, bigger than kind of Caustic, and at least to a new this generation of people. And yeah, but we've been blown away. We did it as not a joke. Like, we didn't do it with humor intended, but we did it as, a little passion project, for the heck of it. Now I get to do this with like one of my best friends, and we always have fun, and it's just good time. We really never argue. We have very separate duties, but that's good.
How does that work though? Like, and do you approach it differently than you do when you're writing for Caustic? Like, do you have to say to yourself, like, well, this is Klack and Eric's involved, and like, I'm gonna kind of try to, I don't know, just like, do you cater to his style some when you write for it?
Oh yeah. Well, so I'll tell you the breakdown of our duties. Eric does like all the music and production on it. I'll suggest things, but he's writing it. He's the one sitting there writing it. He doesn't like writing lyrics a lot of the time, and I have more trouble writing music that I'm really happy with, which he can like just poop out. Like, literally, he'll send me like, oh, I got bored tonight. Here's 25 seconds of like 4 new songs, and I'll be like, those are all better than anything I've written in my whole life. Okie doke. But I do all the lyrics. I write all the lyrics, and again, Eric has, we both have input. It's not like we have like this big, door between us. But I do all the lyrics. So he's on the back end. He's kind of like the kitchen, and I'm the front of house wait staff. So he does everything in the background. He does the mastering. He's just, he's a one-man producer facility in his own right. And then once it gets out, I just Matt Fanale all over the place with promoting it and getting the word out and trying to get it to people and get it in people's hands. And it's been crazy. I mean, we started realizing how, I don't say big we are, but how we have some relative knownness when there was a festival in Brazil and at some rave, and somebody was playing one of our tracks. This DJ down in Brazil was playing it at a rave, and we were like, I've never heard anything I've done like that before. So it's great. Yeah, it's super fun. But we divide up our duties, and we, just kind of do weird stuff. And one of our weirder things was this cover. We do a cover every holiday season just for the heck of it. And the first one was like Pump Up the Jam. Last year's was what is it? So the Chaperone song. Anyway, Goodbye Babe. Is that what it is? Why am I having so much trouble remembering things we've
song
written?
Titles today are getting you.
It's not hard. Good luck, babe. Yeah, Jesus Christ, I apologize. But yeah, we were planning a different song, and then Eric's like, "Hold on, how about the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald?" And I am never one to hold this man back. So I'm like, "Go for it." I don't know it that well, but I'm in. Let's do it. And so again, all credit goes to him on the success of this one. It was it was one of our weirder things we've done, but I love that we do it.
I have one more Caustic question for you.
Yeah.
In terms of like the project overall, like your experience in the project, what would be? It doesn't have to be like this can be several as an answer, but I'm curious about some like favorite memories or milestones from the project that for you as the person, the producer, like, is there anything that has happened with Caustic that you're still just like, that was it for me, like, this is worth it now?
Oh, I mean, it's all been worth it. It's super fun. I mean, but I mean, some of the big things that I remember, like just actual like notable things. I mean, getting to play in Los Angeles in 2005, Reverend John G has been a friend and somebody I've worked with since then, and getting to play, like, we played this place called the Avalon, which is right by the Capitol Records building, and at first time in LA where I'd been there for like a reason, and the place was packed, and it was just a huge old event. Comic Christ was on, Everybody Hates You and all that stuff. So all these big things were happening, and that was really big. Putting an album out and getting on the top of the Metropolis charts, which was, because that was when they were still doing distro for like all the labels and stuff. I remember those days. And topping and little weirdo me with his punk, obnoxious, funny titles and falling off stage drunk and all this. Like he's like, oh, my album's legit. I beat everybody on that list, including like, you know, significantly more notable names. So I've always just tried to do it to see if I could. And getting on Metropolis was one of those things too. And they, you know, they waited until the last minute on me because they're just like, we want to hear the final album mastered and we'll make a decision. And then they said, yep, great. Okay, cool. And it did well. So, but yeah, it's getting to play with artists that I love, you know, getting to play with, getting to open for you know, ChemLab and play on stage with ChemLab and play with Babyland and, oh God, I don't know, Atari Teenage Riot. You know, those things I'll remember forever. Those are like, because I'm sitting there, you know, in my early 20s, just blasting this music while I'm walking around on my Discman, and you know, and you go, oh yeah, there'll be a day that I can say, oh yeah, me and Rodney from the Dead Milkmen are pals, and who's, by the way, the best human being on the planet. All of them are amazing guys, but it's pretty bonkers. The getting to meet idols and getting any modicum of respect back from them is wild.
I didn't know about the
Very
Atari
wild.
Teenage Riot one. I don't remember that.
What?
I didn't know you opened for Atari Teenage Riot.
Yep, I did in Chicago. Oh, it was a long time ago. I was sober, so within the last 13 years, probably. So it was a while ago. It was a while ago, and I had to like really campaign for it and try to, and knew anybody I knew that might know the, you know, promoter and stuff, and it worked out great. And neither band that was there, it was us opening, then some other band that sounded nothing like either of us, so I don't know why they were there, but they did a good job. I mean, but none of them brought merch, so I made so much money that night.
Oh wow!
Nobody else had any. But that kind of thing is like, you know, you get to meet the people that got you into this, and some I call friends, and some I just got to meet, which is neat. So yeah, just, you know, getting to go backstage on someone else is pretty cool. Being backstage already for a reason is even better.
Well, that's all I got for you tonight, Matt. I want to say thanks again for coming on and having this conversation with us. And
Thank you for having me.
putting out all this great music. And whether it's Caustic or not, I look forward to what you produce in the future.
Well, I've got Daddybear in the works. I've got some other things in the works, and I just got to get through this massive pile of stuff I got to get out to start getting to it. But thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you taking the time.